Well, it's close enough to 8 o'clock, so I'll call the Wetland County Redevelopment Commission, March 25th, 2025 to order. At this time, we'll do roll call. Mike Schrader.
Here.
Teresa Basinger.
Present.
John Myers. Here. Jill Western.
Here.
Frank Kessler.
Present.
And I'm here. Okay. First line of business is the 2024 annual report review. Nathan?
Thank you. So y'all have hard copies there in front of you of the 2024 annual report. A reminder that this has to be submitted to the state by April 15th, and as we determined last year, due to statute change a couple of years ago, this also has to be presented to the county council prior to April 15th. So that's why we're looking at it now, so that we can get it on their agenda for their April meeting. Let's see, so just going through it real quick for you. On the cover is a image from Red Star, the tour that was taken out there. I think technically that was earlier this year, wasn't it? Yeah, well, nobody's counting. Dale updated the introduction there on page 2. You can see page 3, the members. If I misspelled anything, let me know. Staff hasn't changed. They're on page 4. Accomplishments for the year. Highlighted 2 infrastructure accomplishments. That's the completion of the 100 South, 300 East sewer extension, and then the initiation of the 100 South road reconstruction design, which was pretty far underway by the end of 2024. Development, our big one was the acquisition of the Niedermeyer property as part of the overall Project Freedom project. So that's explained there, and you can see the outline of the site. Broadband connectivity, we did do a couple approvals for that, although that hasn't come to fruition yet because there's probably alternatives to that, it sounds like. But that was still an accomplishment for overall development. And employee attraction and training, the option for training grants. We didn't approve any last year, but we still did have one that was paid out last year. Going into the financials, as we've talked about before, for 2024, we broke out expenses by the fund that the expenditure came from, with revenues. Because you have fewer revenues, it's still all lumped together in one table, but where each one of those revenues went to is labeled. So 4502 is the union TIF, the main TIF. 4500 is the Redevelopment Commission's own account for non-TIF revenues, for example. So you can see total revenue from all sources, including a transfer between funds, of just under $3.5 million. Kudos to the treasurer for having over $300,000 worth of interest drawn as well. So, for expenses, again, 4,500 is just Redevelopment Commission expenses generally, and that was so that would cover the board stipends and then the annual requirement for bonds. That amount of $4,850 came from a transfer from the union TIF. You can look through all of that. Let's see, highlighting, as I mentioned, the training grant that was paid out in 2024 was for the completion of the Smith Green School Corps vocational program. That was a total of $97,421.06. Paid out $100,000 as per the agreement to Union Township for the fire department. The tax revenue bonds, you can see their grand total of $635,588.72 for our bond payments. The $2,500 is a service charge. don't think they actually call it service charge. They call it some fancy name, but it's basically a service charge to STAR for our bonds. Let's see. The other accounts, ADJOURN, which is designated taxpayer, but for funding purposes is drawn out separately. That bond was $74,000 paid out there. And we did do a lot of expenditures from the Series A bonds, just over $1 million. That was where our capital expenses as well as right-of-way acquisitions came from for the 100 South 300 East sewer. Going on then, year-end balances, they're on page 8. You can see the bottom line. When we drew down Series A, that bond, it's just under $400,000 still remaining in that bond. So we still have capital improvements, infrastructure that could be paid for, or that's taxable, so there could be other things that could be paid for out of that as well. But including all of the different TIF accounts, as well as the bonds, as well as your own, which doesn't have anything in it right now, it comes out to be $11,479,668.05. The remainder of the pages deal with the individual districts themselves, with the maps and the bond obligations that have been paid, as well as just a summary of the revenues, expenses, and balances for the year for the 3 TIF districts. And then Appendix A is our list of parcels for each one of the districts, and Appendix B is our list of adopted resolutions which affect the TIFs, which in '24 we did not have any. The last one we did, I believe, was in '23 when we adjusted the list of properties to acquire. So, quick summary of the annual report. Any questions, corrections, comments for me?
Nice job.
Thanks.
Very nice. Yep. Okay, the commission have a motion to approve the annual report for 2024.
So moved.
Second. Got a first and second. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All them opposed, same. Let it show that they all passed.
Thank you.
And we'll see you in council.
Andy, remind me, does that have to be actually presented to the county commissioners as well, or is it just council?
I think it's just a fiscal body, but it also doesn't have to be approved. It's just presented.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it had to be filed with commissioners. I couldn't remember if it had to be presented. I didn't remember doing it last year. So.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'll confirm for
Okay.
you.
So we'll file it with commissioners and present it to council.
Okay, we'll go to project updates. Project Freedom. I do have a report. I was in contact with Jim Settler. He was one of the gentlemen was interested in tearing the barn down. He would like for long either a yes or no, due to the fact that he hires a lot of high school kids to help him tear that down in the summertime, and he'd like to get them rounded up. So if the commission would like to have them tear it down, he can get help to do it. And the other thing is, I was in touch with the excavating company and told him that everything had to be hauled away, and he was supposed to get back with me, and he hasn't yet, but he said that it's going to be expensive if he has to haul all away in containers. So I don't have any cost on that yet, but should have it by the next meeting. That's all I had. Anybody else have anything on Freedom?
What happened with the fire department wanting to use it?
They still want to use it.
Okay.
We just got to get a hold of them when we know when we can let them on the property. And
He was going to send me something on that so we can put an agreement together, and I haven't heard anything, just
Okay, I'll get in
a
touch with
live
him.
release if they're gonna use that.
I'll get in touch with him.
Okay.
And he wanted all the buildings except the barn,
That was
correct?
what I remember, yeah.
Yeah,
And Brent and I are still waiting for decent weather to get
Yeah.
out there and deal with personal property. So,
Yeah.
we won't let them do that until you guys are done,
yeah, appreciate that.
so.
So do we need a motion or a resolution on allowing Sittler to go ahead and do it?
So
Why,
is it what? So this is for the barn, right?
yes.
So what is the plan there?
Well, this Mr. Settler is a school teacher in Whitley County, but
Mhm.
he has tore down barns like that before. What he does, he tears them down, then he uses the wood and he makes different things with them and give them to charity and let the charity sell them and then they keep the money.
Mhm.
So he don't actually keep any of it for him, but he just makes different things out of them because he deals in wood crafts.
Is will he? Trying to think how to do this. Will he kind of represent that he's only going to give it to nonprofits and
I'm sure
charities?
he would.
I can put together a resolution then for next meeting that we could use.
Okay.
Do we need to be concerned too about insurance or whatever if one of the logs falls on a kid or?
Yeah,
Liability.
liability waiver for him would be good too.
I think that's a good idea. I think most of them are like seniors that he gets.
And what's his name?
Jim Settler,
SETT
LER.
LER.
I think it's only one T, isn't it?
Is it one? I had two, but
I think it's SIT.
So not even close. SITLER. Okay.
I never had him, so.
do you need his phone number in case you want to talk to him or for any reason?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, we'd want to make sure that he has liability,
Yeah.
That'd be on him.
And if we're getting rid of personal property, we kind of have to put it in paper and go through this thing. But if we're giving it to charity, we can do that. And I think we can just have him be the kind of guy tearing it down and giving it to charity for us. And we'll kind
It'd
of
be multiple
write it up that
charities,
way.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I will get in contact and let him know
Okay.
that. But do we still need to have a motion on that?
I'll bring it to the next meeting. I'll have
Oh,
a
okay,
we need to pass a
got it.
resolution.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
The triangle parcel within there, the wooded one with the resident on it, we're getting kicked off to two appraisers to work with them. And this will be a couple of weeks, but then we'll get an appraisal and we could talk to them about an option. But that process is started.
Is it the big triangle or the small triangle? The big
The
thing.
the
Okay.
wooded one.
There's one up there in the
Yeah,
okay.
the wooded one, the big one.
I've had a couple people ask me, what does the redevelopment commission have to gain with that woods? I mean, that would cost a lot of money to wood it, to take all the wood out of it, so you could build on it.
Well,
I think that can I speak?
yeah, go ahead.
I think one of the main things is using that for detention so that we don't have to use any of the other ground for that detention.
The bigger issue, as I see it, is these projects aren't, I wouldn't call them like hot and heavy for the property, but one of the prospects looking at it wasn't real thrilled that there was a resident in the middle of it, that they would not do their project if that person was there, because they just don't want, a residence next to the project they'd be doing.
Yeah, so,
I
so
mean-
basically, if we have the option, maybe somebody will want to get rid of the house, maybe they won't. As long as we have the option in hand, we can say, whatever makes sense in the moment, without actually spending the money to buy it.
So the option would be for both, there's two parcels?
Well, there's actually, technically, there's two parcels
Yeah.
associated with that one property owner.
Okay.
The actual real property's on one and the woods is another.
And I assume too, if we get a deal together with the property owner along 700 East, then this option would also come into play there to help fill out that entire, the full block.
Although, yeah, and if there is a project that would be more sincere about the site, if the other 73 acres was in play, because this is still too small.
We'd have more flexibility with the road alignment too, the connector road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although that property owner was kind of, I don't want to use the word hostile, I wouldn't use that word. Somebody else might, without, us acquiring that property.
Okay, anything else on Freedom? Okay, how about 600 East Yellow River Road?
I do not have any updates this time. It is on my list to get to.
Okay. 100 South reconstruction?
The only update I have since last meeting is I have a refined construction cost estimate of around $1.4 million for the total project cost. That includes a 15% contingency at this point. It also includes a geotextile road-based fabric for the entire project, which may not be necessary. That's basically to help with poor soils underneath our gravel base. I plan to have a longer meeting with the highway department to see how much that's necessary. I also got a comment from John Goetz about some of the areas there's not very good roadside drainage, and so we might need to consider either digging ditches or installing under drains to make sure that we don't have water running along our gravel shoulder.
Okay.
Those will be next for the next phase.
Okay.
When do you think that can be put out for bid?
I think at this point we can hope for the fall, winter for next construction season. If that messes up funding cycles, let me know. Ryan and Scott at the highway department, we're gonna look at what they can do for road patching for this summer to make it to the winter at least.
Yeah. There are a couple really bad spots out there, so.
Okay, anything else on 100 South? About Schrader's?
Nothing.
Nothing. Rogers?
Still nothing there, but John Rogers said he would come probably in our first May meeting, just to kind of give an update.
You don't think he's had anybody interested in it?
He's had people interested. I know they've shown it to a couple people, but they still don't have a tenant.
Okay.
When is our rental lease up with them, Andy?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's not too far off.
It's not too far off.
Yeah.
I want to say it could be like August or September this year. I mean, those 2 years went
I'll
fast.
confirm.
Okay, thank you.
And certainly John is well aware of that.
Larwill? John?
Talk to anybody.
Been kind of quiet.
I know Mike was in Aruba, but it's gotta be back soon here to start farming.
Kim Reef has put his property there at the corner of 30 and 5 up for sale, or at least the one building is for sale. I think the whole property is, so that'll open that up again for opportunity.
US 30.
Along the lines of US 30, I had pretty interesting meeting yesterday afternoon. Came together fairly quickly with several of the SDI executives at the Columbia City facility, along with their attorney. You know, as the entire US 30 project was going along in the Pell study and all the options for all the intersections, ahead of that, there's gonna be some independent projects, that being the Amazon, Flaw Road, Sweetwater, all that will get their own interchange. There is an interchange slated for Butt Road. And that interchange will then kind of coincide with the vacation of County Line. NDOT is going to be the project, they're actually going to be the construction manager on that, they're not subbing it out. Those two interchanges are being paid for with federal dollars. I'm telling you all this because then the interchange that SDI wants at 700 is with NDOT dollars, and NDOT is making SDI pay half of that. Well, as you recall, Holcomb came for that announcement about the 700 interchange. I don't know if everybody remembers that. 2 days before that announcement, NDOT slipped in the bridge at 600 as part of that project. That really doesn't have anything to do with that interchange at 700. But NDOT told SDI they also had to pay half of that bridge, which they're questioning, well, you know, that seems like a change. So SDI yesterday asked me to prepare you for a request, the commission. What's the commission's appetite to maybe assist with the expense of the bridge at 600?
How much is the bridge?
Well,
Bridges don't sound cheap, do they?
No, I know they're not
so
cheap.
the estimate is somewhere between 18 and 22 million. They didn't come out and say, would you guys cover the bridge, which I don't think is fair, because that bridge has always been part of the greater US 30 plan. And it's not like Allen County has to pay for either one of the interchanges, although Allen County is probably going to help with the roundabout or whatever at 800. The request is, or the conversation, would the redevelopment commission in any way be able to help with that bridge or some of those costs? You know, and I'm just the messenger here, but clearly as the report, you know, SDI has put millions and millions of dollars in the tip, and I don't, in my 5 years, John, I don't know about yours, they've never asked for anything.
And then if I remember right, Dale, the bridge is going in because they're getting an interchange, right?
Well, there's just not enough land, and the topography is wrong for there to have ever been an interchange at 600.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but if there had not been an interchange for them, the bridge wouldn't be there, correct?
It would wait,
If I
it
remember
would
right.
have waited for the enterprise-wide, whatever 30 was gonna happen. I mean, to me, NDOT is getting away with shoving half the expense of that bridge onto a business. I mean, if SDI would never have wanted their interchange, this bridge wouldn't be happening right now. It would wait till the entire US 30 project gets started.
When is construction supposed to happen?
It's supposed to start the fall of '29.
I think that's when they were.
For
Or
SDI's
for
independent projects?
Yeah, 2030, I think,
Mhm.
was the realistic year.
Well, like I used to say with my kids when they were growing up, we'll see. I mean, we spent a lot of money out at that intersection 6 or 7 years ago, taking it to, putting turn lanes in, and helping out, you know, to make that safer. I don't know if NDOT did anything to help us there. So I'm a little put off by the fact that they, you know, want to tear up everything that we did there. I mean, okay, if you have to do it, then now we come back and say, you know, we did this to make it safer for everybody as a county, you know, 6 or 7 years ago. And now it's like, well, that's not good enough, and we want you to pay to do it all over again. So, but, you know,
Do you have the plans in your office? Can we chat about it later?
Did we get copies when we left them?
Don't think so. Nothing,
Nothing new. I
No.
don't think.
yeah.
I don't have these specific phases.
Yeah.
I mean,
There might be a footprint in a rough estimate in the Pell study for an overpass, or they may have overlooked it because it was already in the works.
That was in the
discussion
Pell.
about the railroad there. It's awful close to the intersection.
Right,
The railroad
right.
doesn't play nice. How are you gonna get a bridge when you have to stop immediately off the bridge for
Mhm.
Unless you take it all the way over
From
the railroad tracks.
how you get to the businesses?
That's gonna be a whale of a bridge.
Wow.
One thing, not that you're considering this, but just so you know, Dale had asked me about, you know, can we do this? Yes, TIF funds, obviously, this is something TIF could be used for. And they asked about a bond. February 2034 is when the TIF expires, so if you were ever to consider that, it could only be until that, so it would be a pretty short-term bond. Just so that's on your radar.
Yeah, John, going back to what you had said, that the commission had put in money out there at 600. One big project that we did since I've been here was the sewer line reconstruction under the highway. So that might be something you might consider, is dealing with just the infrastructure part of the project rather than the bridge itself, maybe just the utility relocation or protection of your existing investment in that crossing. So if that helps, say, we're only going to deal with this component, everybody else deals with other parts, might be another way of thinking of it.
now the mayor can handle that.
Dale can let him know too.
And we ran additional sewer out to SDI, I don't know how long that's been now, 5-6 years ago. Does the city own that line now too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the city's, as far as I'm concerned, has got enough of the county's money on different projects, so.
And I guess speaking of the city, just a reminder that the sewer extension, the 100 South sewer extension, the payback on that starts basically when they actually have a user in there. So once Rogers has somebody to fill that, then they'll start paying the county back. I think quarterly is what the agreement says.
It's gonna be a long payback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The map for 600 East in the Pell study shows, they call it an underpass, so I think they're taking 30 over 600. So all the bridge and everything is on 30.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And they don't really show
Makes sense,
any
since it
work.
falls so much.
They don't show any work on 600 really. And that's probably why it costs $20 million, is because they're putting a bridge on 30 instead of a bridge on 600.
I see. So 600 would stay and 30 would go over it.
Yeah.
Got it.
You have a lot of driveways right there on 600 to deal with.
Train.
Yeah,
And the
not to
train.
mess with the train. Anything else on US 30? About walkthroughs, Dale?
Yeah, so, in talking with Ultra, they're ready, we'll have a tour with them, but I'm waiting to schedule that after, you know, they have a training grant, they've never submitted a reimbursement request, so I'm working with them on that. It might be kind of nice that they submit that. We get a check, you do a tour, you hand them the check, it's a nice photo opportunity. So I'm working with HR people on the invoice.
Okay.
You get big checks.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Miscellaneous matters. Nathan?
Can't think of anything right now.
Dale, you have anything? Dale? Okay, we'll move on then. Claims?
These are some of the ones that we've paid already.
Okay.
Signatures.
Something paid already, so they're just the signatures.
Okay.
Okay, we have two claims. First claim is the Rogers Company, April rent, $12,636. And second one is Carson LLP, services rendered through February 28th.
Just the highlighted amount.
Okay. The remainder on this is $497.50.
Was there anything taken off of that?
That's February.
Yeah.
Oh,
It'll be March.
okay.
There actually was stuff taken off of that, but it was because it was commissioner stuff that was billed to the RDC.
And this has been paid, so all she needs is sign from the commission.
Is that the last claim?
Yeah.
I would move.
Well, that one's been paid.
This one?
Yeah, she just needed us to sign it.
I would move to approve claims.
Okay, we have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
First and second. Any further discussion on claims? There being none, all them in favor, raise your right hand. All them opposed, the same. Let it show that it passed. We have some minutes from the last meeting. Is there, anybody had a chance, everybody's had a chance to look them over? Is there corrections, Brent?
There are a few corrections, making claims plural, right, just have claims. And then there is a comma written into a run-on sentence. Other than that, those are the two.
Okay.
Do we need to get a subscription to Grammarly for you?
Probably.
So I'll move to accept the minutes as amended.
Second?
First and second. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All them opposed, the same.
I'll abstain.
I'll abstain. I wasn't here at the last meeting, as you know.
Okay, let it show that it passed. I have, getting back to the barn, I have one other thing. You know, we kind of decided we'd let the fire department do that training over there. You'd think it'd be wrong to ask them if they break the windows out of it, that it may save us some money if they break them in the house instead of out in the yard, and because that's going to be a pretty good cleanup if we have to go in there and
The windows themselves, there are people who pay a lot of money for old glass, so that might be another
okay.
avenue. When you talk to Jim, maybe he knows somebody in his dealings.
Oh, I'll say something to him about it.
Yeah, and that would help, you're right, that would help the fire department if somebody else could salvage that.
Yeah, okay. Okay, does anybody in the audience have anything? Scott?
I just keep my mouth shut.
How many years you been at that?
Keeping my mouth shut? 28 years.
Jill, you have anything?
Just that we're moving ahead with the work on the CTE building on Radio Road. They're gonna start, there must be like a barn structure towards the back of the property. They're gonna renovate that first, so that they can work out of that. But they're really hopeful of having current students in the programs help with the renovation so that they can get some hands-on experience. And also that we're doing a lot of coordination with Smith Green and with Whitco so that we don't duplicate career and technical education programs. So I know that's something that you folks were concerned about. So I think that's all gonna be well coordinated between the 3 districts, and I think that would help us get any grants or anything that's out there, since we're doing it countywide and not just school district by school district. So that's moving. We're very excited about that
Good.
expansion.
Sounds good. Brad, you have anything?
Just
Dale?
trying to learn from Scott.
Andy?
Nope.
Nope. Nope.
Teresa?
Nothing further.
I have nothing. Nathan?
Nope.
Okay, we stand adjourned.